And I'm back like I never left. What's up, people? It's your boy Johnny Jupiter, and today I'm talking about, this is a continuation because not in my last video, but in my last to last video, my second to last video, I was explaining how this is the journey, right? The journey that I've been on and getting there. And I believe I left off at the point where I just saw the triangle of light on the wall and I couldn't put the hand. I was like, well, what's going on, right? There's more to that. And here's the continuation. So the next day I get up. It's a normal Saturday, I want to say. It's a normal Saturday. And I'm just going throughout my day, whatever, blah, 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 doing what I do, whatever I did. And at one point, I go to take a nap. Just for whatever reason, I'm not a big napper, but I go to take a nap on this particular day. And I remember laying down, or I think I wasn't intending to take a nap. I was just kind of laying down. And I do end up falling asleep. And I have this very vivid dream. But it wasn't a dream because there's no way. There's no way. It was more like a vision. Or just remembering some past life stuff because it was too. So I don't recall my dreams too often. And times when I have in these last few years, these recent years, there's always been, I've paid more attention. So this is kind of the beginning of how my dreams or things have kind of changed for me. But I remember being lucid, like I was lucid dreaming. But, and this is why it wasn't like really a regular dream, even a lucid dream, because although I was lucid in it, I was looking for something specific. So I just remember being in this tub of water and there were a few other people there. There was beautiful greenery, nature in the background. And there was this woman who I was speaking with. And for some reason I asked a question. Now, I'm usually good about taking notes and remembering certain stuff, but this was such a new thing for me that I didn't think at the time to like write it down, because I asked this question, and it was the question was something along the lines of, tell me something that my lover would say to me in this life, so I know that I found her, or something like that. Because I'm just like I'm just like, ooh, come on, I'm trying to find me a nice lady. What's going on? So maybe I need some hints. Maybe I need a roadmap, a little GPS with it. Oh, go here, then stay there for 6 months. So I'm just like, anything that can help me find my girl. Where's she at? But anyway, but I can't remember what the response was. I just felt it was so, for some reason, it was so profound. But the thing was, I had to ask a few times. And this is when I realized it wasn't just a regular dream, because normally in dreams for me, like I'm not really aware that I'm dreaming or that something's happening. Like I normally don't have a question about something and then have the mind to repeat it to get an answer. But for some reason during this vision or dream, I had the mind I couldn't hear what was said. So I asked like 3 or 4 times, and every time it got more clear. And then I heard the response, and I thought it was super profound. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I remember telling my brother about it. I was like, oh goodness, I wish I wrote it down. But whatever, it's okay. But I remember the response at the time, and I was just like, wow. But then I had another thought. I was just like, wait a minute. I felt something was about to happen, because it was that moment that I was asking for clarity on what was said, that I knew, I realized that I was lucid. And I was like, hey, I'm here right now. I'm in this other place. And shortly after that, after I had that realization that something was about to happen, I felt my body relax, and I wanted to relax as much as I can. And I was laying on my back. And then I started to wake up, but then I felt this energy come over me, and I felt like my chest was being lifted up. It was just like something was breathing my lungs for me, and I felt my body was like lifting up out of my bed, almost like some almost like some scary movie type stuff, but it wasn't scary. It wasn't like that, but just, in the scary movies, someone's elevating you out of your body or whatever. But it was kind of like that, but it wasn't scary at all. That's just the only way I can kind of explain it. But I felt my body being breathed, and I was being lifted up, and I felt and I saw I was in this tunnel. It was this dark tunnel, and these different spots of light. It was like red, blue, green, white speckles of light all around this black tunnel, and my consciousness was being like through the tunnel. Now, this was the very next day after I had that experience with the wall of the light and everything. So there was a lot happening, and because this was something that I have never experienced before, I was doing my best not to freak out, because I wanted to freak out. And I was just like, okay, don't freak out. There's a lot happening right now. There's a lot coming at me right now. But I just had the mind that I knew, like, if I wanted it to keep going, I had to stay calm, because, obviously there's a lot to be said about like integrating energy, holding on to energy, and not letting it spill out, so you can hold the experience. Like, even with people that do lucid dreaming and can do it at a really high level, when you get too excited about what you're doing, it usually wakes you up. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I can just stay calm and let this very strange thing happen to me and just trust that all will be okay, like, the experience will last longer. Maybe I learned something, have a cool experience. But either way, it was very short. I don't think those types of experiences usually last too long without training or familiarity or whatever. So I'm going through the tunnel. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Oh, and I remember telling myself, like, calm down, stay calm, try to stay calm. But it only lasted like 10 seconds or whatever. And then I like flump on the bed, and I was just like, which was weird, right? Because I wasn't like exercising or anything, but that's kind of how I felt. So after the experience, I was just like, oh my gosh. And I felt my eyes trying to close, like they were trying, it was trying to like force my eyes closed. And it was strange, because then I started seeing, this is a true story now, okay? I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I started seeing, with my physical eyes, I started seeing sacred geometry just floating around within this space of my vision. And there was like a couple of different shapes, and they were bouncing around my vision very slowly, and they were also slowly turning colors. Blue was the most prominent that I can remember. And I was just like, what is going on? And it was so interesting, because I had my my diploma or my license, my award, one of my awards or something from Korea, and on the wall. And I remember that my vision got super sharp during this time. Like, I could see so clear, which was cool, because I was just like, I've had astigmatism since high school, and although I've had 20/20 vision, but I've had astigmatism, so it's just like, yeah, I can see real good, but I also can't. So the astigmatism kind of blurs things. But during this moment, it was sharp, because the letters on the award are real small, and I'm looking up to read. I was just like, I can read that so clearly. And the sacred geometry is just slowly just bouncing around my vision, just making its way, just changing colors, going real slow. And I'm just laying on the bed, slumped, just watching it because I don't know exactly what's happening. I just want to enjoy it for as long as it happens. Because this is these things happening that over the course of this 2 days, I talked about my growing up in the Christian church and everything. And it's just like, these are the most spiritual experiences that I've ever had up to this point. So I was really drinking it in as much as I could, because it was such a new thing to me. And I was just wildly fascinated. And like, this is the kind of stuff that turns me on. Like, I love talking about this kind of stuff. Having the experiences, it's like the best thing. Because I feel like there's so much to this. Like, there's so much beyond the veil of what we normally see with our physical eyes, and I was connecting with something a lot higher. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm really loving it. So I'm just laying on the bed. It was probably I didn't time it or anything, because but it felt like a long time, maybe an hour. And I'm just sitting there trying to force my eye open. I feel like I should have closed them, but the fact I was seeing that sacred geometry, and I'm just like, I want to look at this. I feel like I shouldn't be able to see it, but here I am seeing it, so I don't want to close my eyes, So I kind of forced them open so I could see. And it was so fascinating. So after a while, it finally stopped. And of course, I go in and tell my brother about what just happened, because I don't have anybody to talk to about this. Now, of course, this isn't really his thing. And I can tell, but I just, for me, there's nobody else to talk to. So I just, it was still fascinating for him to hear it. But, obviously you really want to be able to share it and get input, or, what kind of, share stories and that sort of thing. So, but it was really cool. And it was such a fascinating thing. And I believe that it was part of the awakening for me. Just, kind of, because I think these things are innate, but it's when like the universe puts things right in front of your face, and you're just like, okay, I can't ignore it. Not that I was trying to ignore it, but when it's right in front of your face, you can't ignore it. So you start to get curious. So I go to the metaphysical shop, and they've got like the aura picture machine there. So I'm just like, you know what? That sounds dope. At this point, I kind of got a hint about it from, this woman that I dated. We kind of dated off and on over like 10 years. And it was just the timing was never right. It was never quite right. But anyway, she told me about the aura picture machine. I was like, oh yeah, I would love to try something like that. That sounds cool. So I go, right? Get in my car and I drive up to the place. I'm just like, hey, I want to take an aura picture. They're like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I take an aura picture. Again, I don't know I'm not expecting anything. I don't know I just want to see what I can see. I saw my ex's picture and I thought it was cool. It's like, oh, that's cool. You see, she had one, and it was just like all pink. It's like so much pink. Very beautiful, right? So I get one, and they take it. What's it using? What's it called? Kirlian photography. I can never quite pronounce it. Kirlian photography. But they take the picture or whatever. She using the older film, right? And she's looking at it, and she's just like, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, okay, well, don't say it like that, because what's wrong with me, right? we have to think, okay, what's wrong? What do you see? Do I need to see somebody? But she shows me, and there's like 7 different colors on there. And I was just like, oh my, okay, wow, is that normal? She says like, no. Most people have 1, maybe 2 colors. 1, maybe 2. And a lot of time people get red, because like maybe they're stressed or they're kind of weird and they're all tense about it or whatever, and you know. But it's just like there's pink, there's blue, there's green, there's gold, there's white. I was just like, oh my gosh. Now I'm looking at the picture. I'm gonna put. I've got it, so I'm gonna put it on the. I'm gonna put it on the screen so you can see. But I'm looking. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I see these white orbs. There's like 5 or 6 white orbs above my head, and then around the space of my head, there's also green, and it's just like all this stuff. I'm just like, wow. And she's just like trying to explain what it all means because there's so much here. And I could tell that she kept getting distracted, but I was really, because I'm just like, hey, you're supposed to explain this to me, right? So please stay focused and explain it to me. There's so much here, and I don't know what's going on. And essentially, there was just, lots of things with transformation. And she's like, you feel like confused and going on in your life right now? And I was like, yes, there's so much happening, and I just don't know what to do. And she's just explaining to me the different colors and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wow, being open to channel. And I believe she mentioned spirit guides, the pink and the love and like spiritual teachers, and the green healing and transformation. Now the green healing and transformation was around my head. So I'm I think back, I'm just like, oh, there was my belief system. My belief system had been changing. I'm kind of transforming and healing in that way. So I thought that was interesting. So it was wildly fascinating, and I've gotten many, well, not many, but like since then I've gotten like 4 or 5 orb pictures done. I usually do them like every year or something, or because there's a progression. But anyway, so I'm just like I'm fascinated by this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about this. And she says, well, hey, they got a psychic fair coming up next week, or in a couple weeks or whatever. Here's a little coupon thing, you can go. And I was like, okay, cool, psychic fair. Okay, I've never been to a psychic fair. Let's go. Because again, this beginning. I'm learning, I'm having all these experiences, and I don't really know where to go or how to start. So I just gotta like get myself out there and just see what I can see, learn what I can learn. So the psychic fair comes up, and I go, and I sit down with this woman, Helen, and I believe that her family, she's like a 3rd generation psychic and like tarot reader, and her mom was really famous in like the DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area, years ago and everything. So I was like, okay, cool. And she's just like, now at this point I'm learning about stuff, but I don't just have like a disbelief or a skepticism because of the experiences I just had. More than anything, I just had experiences that don't like make logical sense. And so like we're talking, she's doing a reading, and she starts telling me stuff that I feel she should know. There's like, okay, there's no way you should know these things, right? She's not looking me up on the computer. She's not doing none of that. I sat down, and then she was reading me, right? That was it. So I'm just like, okay, because she shouldn't know some of these things. And it was really interesting because I'm getting this information, I'm learning these things, and she's just like, oh yeah, somebody's really always praying for you. There's lots of spiritual protection around you, and is your grandmother, your mom really religious or something like that? I'm just like, yep. I know my mom always is. I love you, Mom. So, there's just these things kind of that she's saying. I'm just like, man, there's no way that she should know this, right? And then she's just like, yeah, you're actually very psychic. And I was just like, me? I'm psychic. I was just like, I've got powers. Like, yes. But I was just like, okay, but how do I use it, I didn't ask her that in the moment, but because I was just blown away by everything she was telling me. I was like, wow, okay, there's so much going on. And it was cool because it spurred me on. It was enough to, I mean, I was already interested, but I didn't know that I had an affinity for this. Now I'm a Pisces, well, I'm a triple Pisces. I got a lot of Pisces in my chart. And Pisces are Pisces got all this psychic energy and stuff. They're very psychic, blah, blah, blah. But growing up as a Christian, there's certain things that are like, nope, we don't do that up in here, right? And I've heard stories of children being really in tune, like being really in tune and doing mediumship and stuff accidentally, just being, that's how open they are, and not knowing what to do with it and being scared and asking it to go away, go away, go away until finally it does. So it's just like, whether it was something that I didn't know how to quantify or because of my upbringing or whatever. So I was just like, okay, I just didn't know how to, kind of where to go with it. So it's just like, okay, if it's something that is in me, that's always been in me, and I shut it off, then if you can flip the switch off, then you can flip the switch on. That just makes good logical sense, right? That's just, it may take a little bit more work in your latter years, in your adult years, because these things shouldn't be shut off in childhood, but a lot of times they are. So I'm like, okay, so I'm just taking all this information in, and I think I'm just really turned on by the experience after it's all said and done. And I remember going to a family event later, I think, this was in like October, November, and I want to say, well, I can't remember, but I remember getting on a plane a little bit after this would kind of happen, and I had an experience on the plane, and I just imagined that there was this man, and he was talking to these two ladies, and in my head, I start telling his story for him, but I had got to this point where that I had said, in my head, I got to this point where I was just like, oh yeah, I don't know if anybody else does this, right? But in my head, I said, oh yeah, I'm talking for the man. I know this is kind of cute. I'm talking like for the man. And I had mentioned that, when after my wife died, blah, 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 blah. And this food item, because they were talking about like baking pies or something like that, reminds me of her. And I don't know if anybody else does that, but I was listening to him talk, and I was like making up this story, or at least I thought I was. And then after I say that, like 10 seconds later, this man says, yeah, and after my wife passed away, and I was just like, wait, what? You know how you do like a double take? I did like a 30 take, because I'm just like, did I say that out loud? Is he listening to my thoughts? And it was just like one of those weird things. He didn't know, and I thought that I was making up a story, but I think I was picking up on his energy. Him telling this story about his wife that passed away, and I was just like, what is going on? And it was just one of those things. I don't believe in coincidence, so I was just like, that's not a coincidence. That was like the first, I think one of the first times, one of those moments where I had picked up something, and I thought I was just making it up, because it's just like, why would I even start doing that anyway? I don't know, just one of those things. But it wasn't something that I just made up. Like it was actually part of this man's story that I was reading. I was feeling into his energy, although unconsciously I wasn't meaning to. And it was just the whole sequence of events. I can't remember exactly how, at this point, how quickly after one another they took place, but it was very fascinating. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. There's something to this. There's something with me in this, and I'm excited for the journey. I'm excited for where it goes, where it leads, because this is something that I've always wanted. Although I thought it was going to be from a different place, but it's something that I always wanted, and I just didn't. I never felt it before, but now, haha, now I feel it. Now it's, those little feelings I get at nighttime where I sense something and I'm just like, what is that? But obviously there's nothing there physically. Now those moments start making more sense, because I wasn't shut off. I just didn't know how to explain the things, the little bumps in the night or whatever. I didn't know how to explain it. But now I'm getting somewhere. So yeah, that's kind of, that's more. That's more of the journey. That's more of the story. And there's still more. There's still even more. And I'm going to continue telling it in this very I don't know. I think I might go to the next part, right now in the next video. But we'll see. We'll see. I get excited. I get excited talking about it because this is one of those things in life. I feel like this is why I'm here. This is why I chose to incarnate at this time, because I'm learning about my spirituality and surrendering to that higher energy, and learning what I'm here to learn, and to experience what I'm here to experience. So, and it's fun, it's fascinating, and I think it's more enriching than just the everyday hustle and bustle of life, because that's kind of a trap to me, because then there's very little room for that greater edification when your focus is just go, then being tired, then having to rest, and then go again, and then you do that till you're 65, and then you can finally retire, and you know what I mean? That's just so I'm excited to see where this goes, but I'm also excited to tell you the story, because you might have a similar one now, in a month, a year, 5 years, we don't know. So so that's it for this one. Until the next one, thank you for joining me. I'm Johnny Jupiter, and I'll see you next time. No outro, because I don't have one.